Hello everyone, my name is Gursesli. I'm clinical psychology but my PhD program is information engineering. With that way, we are creating hybrid project for my PhD department basically. So my project name is, sorry about it, it's a little bit long, but a cross-cultural comparison study effects on personality traits and motivation on video game preferences. Player-based web platform developing emotion recognition tool to evaluate psychological prodromes and fatigue on gamers. So before to start that, I want to share a little bit statistics of gaming industry. As you know, year by year, gamers numbers around the world are increasing, especially what we are facing right now. I mean, COVID. Effects of COVID and effects of technology and improvement of internet, gaming are just some sort of tools for our lives right now, not for just games, also gamification. You can see some numbers, also estimated numbers on 2022 and 2023, and then people are just guessing billions of people are playing games and still it will increase. So there is another statistics numbers of from 2021. It shows us partial numbers of European players are big, but the biggest part is Asia. Basically, we can understand that these numbers are divided, not balanced, but huge quantity of people are playing games. So firstly and mainly, we have to understand why is this project important. The number of gamers which continuously increases day by day, as I mentioned before, facing some various problems. We can say mental problem or physical problems, but for this research, this project, we are focusing mental problem for the first part. Mental disorders, which is one of them, have been the subject of research in the literature, have been found of correlation. That means we can see some of correlations between depression, anxiety, and other some sort of psychological effects related to games. The gamer psychology model, which will be created during this project, is going to be first part of project, will clarify how the players choose their game genres with the motivation and personality traits variable. While we are doing this, the cultural comparison will be observed how cultural differences affected this situation. And the last sentence we had to talk, this project which is planned to be realized, gamers self-support web platform. After creating a gamer psychological model and improving buffer and AI-based tool, we will create a gamer self-support web platform, which means gamers, they will check their statistics and data while they are playing games. This is the aim of the project, main aim of the project. So, general overview of project. For the sake of analysis of the goals of the planned project, we can divide into the three major parts. Normally, as normal PhD projects, just focusing one part or two part. But in this project, it's gonna be hybrid. Basically, there is first one is psychological dimension, which means we will follow personality traits and motivations on individuals who play video games. We call it gamer psychological model. Basically, we will understand what kind of players which has personality traits and motivations and how they choose what kind of games they are playing. Our aim is collect data which in every different culture, and after this collection, we will compare these data and we will understand what kind of differences they have. And second part is face and emotion recognition tool, which this tool, it's going to be AI-based tool, and we aim to create a facial expression tool that monitors the facial expressions of participants while they are playing games, which will help us to understand the emotions they are feeling. dominated emotions, basically. Thus, we will observe the relationship between game styles, domination emotions, and fatigue, basically. Also, psychological dimensions from the first part. And the last part is web platform. The web platform, which will be created by combinating this model constructed by psychological variables and emotion recognition tool, and aims to improve mental health of players, because we know these games, especially online games, affects psychological dimensions, basically. So let's start from psychological dimensions. I will explain deeply in this part. So our psychological dimensions divided three, as I mentioned before. First one is personality trait. You can find here initial systematic review results here. So basically, Big Five model, there's a five sub-dimensions. Also, the game motivation also has 6 or 7 sub-dimensions. Also, there's tons of game preferences. But we don't know one thing. What kind of impact of personality traits and game motivation has on game preferences? Okay, there is some research about that in the literature, but we don't know what kind of correlation all of these inside of that. We call it model. It's going to be psychological, gamer psychological model, basically. And second part of the first one is going to be cultural comparison. So the data gathered from the countries that are different in culture as well as different in popularity of the games genres will improve the utility of psychological model that is aimed to be created along with providing a comparison of result of cultural differences. As you see, we gave some European countries, Asian countries, and North American ones to aim of that to create collecting data. For example, in Italy, we're collecting data. One of the person has extroversion point is so high, and game motivation, playing of game motivation is escapism and playing a shooter game. And it's the example of X. And we are going Asia, same motivation, same motivation, same personal traits in different country, but with different games. That means we don't know how these motivations and how these personality traits affects on game types, game choices. And in literature, there is nothing about that. Also, I want to show you how these games are popular, how different games are popular around the world. You can see every single country has a different popular game, but they have different motivations also. Also, they have different personality traits. Our gamer psychological model will explain and completely understand that our aim is this one for the first part. Also, there's another explanation about popular games around the world. Like in Italy, sports games are popular, are dominant. In Japan, people like nowadays, especially dating simulators games and robot games. I can give you tons of examples about that, but we don't know how culture affect that and what kind of differences between each culture or each country has it. So let's go to second part of emotional recognition tool. This part especially related to information engineering. That's why we call this project, it's going to be hybrid one. So we are working on the tool. Now we are just taking data for alpha version of it. The tool can detect seven different emotions: happy, neutral, sad, disgust, angry, surprise, and scared. We will use webcam footage. Basically, you can open this our tool from your computer, and you can play your own game. While you are playing this game, this tool will collect your data from your face and indicate and understand what kind of emotions are dominant and what kind of fatigue you have while you're playing games. Okay, now imagine we collect psychological data from the first part, and second part is data from your face and your emotions. We will include that. So what kind of games you are playing, what kind of emotions do you have, what kind of personality traits you have, what kind of motivations you have. we will collect all of them and understand how these games and this type of games will affect you. There's a chart of the project. It's a basic chart to realize it. First one, we are using TensorFlow, and we will use MobileNet because of GDPR problems. We will not collect data in servers. We will collect just results while MobileNet is working on your computer. As a data set, we are using right now FAIR, which means emotion recognition and detection database with EffectNet and FF, and we are using Node.js and TensorFlow. You can see another dimension of our tool. We are not just using emotions. We are using also eyes. We call it primary structure of eye gazer. So basically, our tool just understand where you are looking for and how your eyes movement. Basically, with that way, we will understand what kind of fatigue you have because of iris, also your eye movement and eyes position, basically. And you can see our initial samples of our tool and how it's working. And let's go to the last part of our project. We call it web platform. Okay. The platform, which will be created psychological model and emotion recognition tool, will have many features for gamers, such as full-time emotion recognition tool, psychological self-assessment, report system, fatigue alert, synchronization with other platform, dominant emotions, and probable pronouns. In this part, we will understand, as I mentioned before, all others dimension we collect, and we will calculate and understand what kind of emotions are dominant while you are playing game and how affected by games. I put some possible initial design of UX like this. For example, you just enter this website, this platform. There is big five personality inventory and game motivation inventory and demographic test and GDPR, etc. And this is one of the most useful part for our project. When you enter the website, web platform of our intervention program or action project, the report system will shows everything to you. You start a playing game like 2 hours, 3 hours, or more or less, we don't know. And the tool just contact with and synchronize with your game and understand how many hours do you play, how many minutes especially affected by this game. For example, you are playing one of the horror or irritated games you are playing, and 5th minute you affected by game. And this tool will synchronize it by this game. That's why you will understand how this scene affected your psychology. And in general, we will collect all of your data because we know your mental health condition by self-assessment, like motivations and personality traits. And you can see here, there's one example, 4 hours game, 32 minutes, an action adventure game, Counter-Strike, and dominant emotions are explained, and fatigue after the playing games for 4 hours, your eyes movement are slower because we collect data of wall of 4 hours. We know how this game affects your fatigue because we are collecting results and data from your face, basically. This is the project diagram. I'm sorry, it's a little bit complicated, but the project is in general complicated because there is psychological dimensions, social dimensions, cultural dimensions, and of course, engineering dimensions. Thank you for your time, and please ask me some questions. I am really appreciate your questions.